I want to start this broadcast by saying that we are all a bunch of lunatics. So, today it's Monday, 6th of July, and today it can be Monday musings with Nelly while I'm eating some raspberry from my grandma's garden. Sorry about my voice, I haven't talked in a while because I've been a little bit in a hermit mode in the last couple of months. Going within, diving deeper into my own self, discovering, doing some self reflection, self discovery, filling my own cup from within. So, today's musings will be, as I said, we are all lunatics. And why am I stating that? What brought me to this thought? Well, ever since I was a child, I noticed a lot of stuff in a lot of situations and a lot of people, but I was never stating them out. I was always keeping them inside of myself. But in the last 5 years, I've been working for the Bulgarian Association for Development of Energy Psychology here in Sofia, Bulgaria. And thanks to my work, I have attended and I have organized for my boss a lot of seminars for self-development, self-discovery, and I met many psychologists, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, homeopaths, medical doctors, and I realized that all of the things that I was insightful about throughout my whole life, this is a gift. This is a natural born psychologist, you may call it. At least I call it like this. And I realized that I was just suppressing these gifts and ignoring them, as we all do with our talents and gifts. Not all, but maybe 90% of the people. We suppress what we truly like, what we truly think, what we truly feel. And that brought me to the realization and conclusion that we are all lunatics, because whenever you suppress something, you become fragmented. And fragmented means that parts of yourself, of your psyche, are frozen and suppressed somewhere, and you're not whole. And the more fragmented we become, the more toxic we become, because we start seeking approval, validation, and happiness from outside of ourselves, because we have blocked it inside of us. And we also start getting addicted to all kinds of things, food, sex, drugs, toxic relationships, even TV shows, porn, whatever. And the root cause of all that is because somewhere inside of you, you have suppressed and frozen parts of yourself, which are there, stuck, crying for help. And because you need to numb that pain, you go and find all kinds of ways to distract yourself. But in the end, of course, this distraction only makes things worse and more complicated, because how much you can take before the volcano erupts. And the longer we suppress it, the longer we hold it, the stronger the explosion is. Of course, I can speak from personal experience. Like most people, I also experienced some pretty toxic happenings in my immediate family. And now that I live on my own in the last 2 years, and I'm becoming more and more of my true self, I see and realize the patterns, the behavioral patterns of my family, and also behavioral patterns. They are transcended from generation to generation, because when this is scientifically proven, by the way, that children from age 0 to 7 years old function with different brain waves. They function in delta brain waves, which are hypnotic brain waves. So basically, children are in a hypnotic state because this is nature's way to help them learn how they can operate in this world. And so kids see everything in a magnified way with a magnified glass, and they soak up everything like a sponge. So everything goes directly in their subconscious. They download these programs that they pick up from age 0 to 7, so they can operate in this world. But of course, most of these programs are not that healthy and not that accurate, because from when we are children, we mostly interfere with our family. And imagine a child that is born in a family with toxic behaviors, with scandals, or with drugs involved, or whatever. This child learns and sees that the world is a dangerous place, it's unpredictable, there's violence, there's stress, and of course, trauma creates amnesia. And when we're traumatized, especially as kids, even some parts of our brain, the creative parts, are shutting down because we are in survival mode, and we need to operate with the most immediate things. That leads me, of course, to the topic of pregnancy. I've also been to a lot of seminars about pregnancy, conscious pregnancy, and there are more and more scientific studies that show that ever since the ever since a woman conceives, everything, all the information, the feelings and the emotions of the mother are being imprinted in the baby, in the womb, on the fetus. So since day one, girl, since you conceive, you're like, this is the biggest responsibility that you will ever have, because everything that you feel and think throughout these 9 months, you will imprint it directly in the cellular memory of your unborn baby. And again, this is because this is nature's program to get you ready, to prepare you for the outside world when you pop out. And of course, when I learned these things, firstly, I was at the same time not that surprised, and I was like, this is, why haven't we realized this earlier? You know, if every single person, man and woman, knows this, the world would be so much better, because you see so many fragmented people everywhere because of trauma during their time in the womb. then traumatic experience during their childhood because no one pay attention to their emotional needs, because even till recently medicine taught that babies do not feel pain. And yeah, I even watched a documentary for the circumcision of the newborn babies. Of course, they don't put any mm, painkillers. They just cut off their skin, and babies actually, instead of not feeling pain, babies feel pain, I think 10 times stronger than a grown-up. So imagine you just pop out in this world, you're this baby that cannot do anything, you're just feeling because even your consciousness has not developed yet, and somebody cuts off a part of you. And this strong pain in the documentary was showed how switches off a whole part of the brain, because the baby does not have the capacity for this pain. So this is only one of the problems with the circumcisions of newborn baby boys. I'm glad that I'm not born as a boy, especially in America. And yeah, let's get back to the womb. Womb. I don't know how to pronounce this. Let's get back to the belly. So you can imagine that if a woman who takes drugs or who has a very abusive husband, gets pregnant, and throughout her whole pregnancy she's getting beaten up, or she's taking drugs and smoking, or she's a prostitute, or or she's in the middle of World War II, and she's scared for her life and her baby's life every day, every minute. She's in a survival mode. Imagine what these sensations are imprinting to the baby that's developing in her. And imagine when this baby pops out, what would be the deepest beliefs in the subconscious of this person. It will be: the world is not a safe place, I am not loved, I am not worthy of love, I don't deserve love, nothing in life is sure, I have to struggle all the time, I have to be in a fight or flight in order to survive. Yeah, this is what happens when for a couple of thousand years you totally neglect the emotional and mental health of humankind. And you see the results today of mental clinics overloaded, antidepressants taking like candy. Yeah, nothing is happening by chance. Everything is cause and effect. And all of this, from my point of view, is caused by our inability to take responsibility and our ignorance. They say ignorance is bliss, but ignorance has become now a luxury that we can no longer afford, because we all, in our hearts and minds and souls, we all want, to live in peace and harmony, in a better world, no, without war, without killing, without drugs, without whatever. But we gotta cause this effect again, as we caused the world that we live in now. I sometimes tend to be pessimistic, but also realistic, but a little bit pessimistic. I'm a Capricorn, my moon and sun are in Capricorn, so I'm a stable biatch. But I see that so rapidly, more and more people, including me, of course, are waking up, especially with this virus situation now in the last couple of months. The coin has two sides. So some people see only the negative side of this virus, but I see many more positives than the negatives, because this affected everyone on a personal level, and people started asking questions that they have never asked before. And people had the time to, reflect, to get out of this chaotic everyday life that we're in, so pressured every day, on the go, go, go. They had the time to sit, to breathe in, to breathe out, and to be like, why am I doing all this? What's the point when you can see that everything can crumble in a matter of days? And this triggered me also to start speaking out more. I also started a blog. It's in English again, of course, because I said it many times, I do everything in English because I want to reach the whole world. And I love English. I loved it ever since kindergarten, since I was 5. And I guess that's why I loved it, because subconsciously I knew that this will be the international language and I have to learn it so I can communicate with people from far and wide and express my thoughts and my knowledge and my wisdom, because each of us is a piece of the puzzle. So yeah, I try not to make these videos too long. Yeah, I will try to make videos shorter, but do them more frequently. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up for now. And to sum it up, what I just said is that we are all lunatics because we are all fragmented, due to the fact that in the last couple of thousand years, emotional and mental health were deeply neglected and suppressed. And when you suppress something, you get this fragmentation, and you have to take it out somewhere. And that's why we start looking from outside sources, like alcohol, like drugs, like food, like sex, like everything, to numb the things that we are suppressing. But in the end of the day, nothing is working. We are just going in the same cycle, drowning and drowning. And this will continue to happen until we say enough and open the Pandora's box in order to clear it up. Of course, it ain't easy, but better to clear it up now than later, because later it will be even more painful and more difficult. So for me personally, I prefer to go through the pain now, clear up all this shit, and get on with the real life that I want to live, the one that's imprinted in my imagination, my wildest dreams. And we all have these dreams and desires for a reason, because they are our highest potential for this lifetime. And it's up to us if we are going to fulfill this potential, or we're gonna keep procrastinating and make it harder for ourselves. So yeah, stay tuned. And yeah, whenever I get the inspo, I'll just roll the camera again and start talking. Start it floating, because it is time, as Rafiki says.